Hello guys, welcome back to another episode of JonesBoy's Fishing. Today I am stuck in the house because my lake is froze over. Couldn't go fishing. So I was like, well, what better not time to bring to you guys my top 5 favorite wintertime baits. So, when it's wintertime, you got to keep this in mind. You got to go extremely slow, or at least I do anyhow. You can go from giant baits to small baits, but pretty much all the baits you're going to throw is going to be extremely slow. So that brings me to my first bait, which is a 110 jerkbait. This is a mega bass with the rattles. And all I do with this is the regular twitch, pause. Besides on that pause, I'm going to give it a good 15 to 20 seconds between each pause. And it'll give you probably a minute or two, maybe even 3 minutes to reel it all the way into the boat. And it's not going to be, it can be a big bite, but mainly it's just going to be a little tick. And you're going to feel it through your line. And that's when you set the hook. Alright. My next bait is a drop shot. You can drop shot anything. There's numerous ways and things to drop shot. But I like to keep it small. This is a Callium Worms dagger and a green pumpkin. Another favorite of mine that I don't have any on me right now is a little Kitech. I think it's a 2.8. And that little boot tail, when it goes down, it just barely swings back and forth. And all you do with that is a drop shot is when you cast it out, I just take my pole and lift it up and shake it twice. Kind of like the jerkbait, the twitch pause. But I leave it set a whole lot more still than I do with the jerkbait. I'll probably leave it set a good 30 seconds before I move it again. Kind of like fishing a jig. And then speaking of the jig, that's my next wintertime bait. I usually put a creature bait on. This is a Callium Worms kick and crawl. I go with the lightest weight that I can go with. I don't really have a lot of big water here. The most depth is probably about 30 feet from where I'm located. So I really don't need nothing. So I just fish with a 3/8 ounce. That's usually what I usually fish with. You want to cast it out and just crawl it. Just lift it with the rod tip, reel up your slack and leave it set. Probably 15-20 seconds. Do the same thing again. Then every once in a while you can give it 2 little short hops and get them claws or paddles or whatever just flopping a little bit. And usually when you get bit with a jig, it's going to be a good solid bite with a good solid bass on the end of it. So be ready for that. That's one of my favorite ways to catch them in the wintertime. Then my next bait is a little swim bait. I put it on a little swim bait head and go cast it out on the bottom and just slow crawl it. And all it does is that little swim bait on the boat tail, it just moves back and forth like that. It's really subtle. Because in the wintertime, all of your plastics are going to lose a lot of action because it's so cold when you cast them out in the cold water. So even with the slightest movement of that little swim bait, it's just going to move like that. You can put these on darter heads or jig heads. Personally, I like a little jig head. One thing I forgot to mention about the drop shot, go with the lightest weight you can go with and get away with. I usually do a 3/16 ounce. Now, one of the new ways that I got introduced this year, I've been getting really addicted to, and that's big giant swim baits. More specifically, the Huddleston. This is a 8-inch rate of fall 5 trout Huddleston. And my buddies Byron Pate and Zachary Lewis got me into this. And I was like, man, y'all are catching some big fish. What are you catching them on? Swim baits. So I was like, well, I'll have to get me some of them. So if you're watching this, guys, I hate you because you're getting me hooked on this. What you want to do with this is cast it out, let it go all the way to the bottom, crawl it just like a jig. But this is going to be your slowest moving bait you're going to throw. And you're wondering why such a big bait, and here's what I think. I think they're just like humans. Would you rather move 20 yards to get a fry from McDonald's, or would you rather move 50 yards to get a Baconator with a Baconator fry from Wendy's? kind of like us. But then again, one of my other buddies, he said, that's really good and all, but here's the way I think of it. And it's absolutely 100% correct. With all of these little baits, like the swim bait or the drop shot, you got to put it right in their face. And if you're sitting down on the couch, nothing to do, and there's a bowl of popcorn sitting there, you're more than likely going to eat that bowl of popcorn. So that's two really great answers. So, again, with the Huddleston, you want to throw it out there and just creep it. Every time you feel a rock or a stump or something, you just want to tick it over. And this probably a good 5 minutes to bring in on a good cast. That's how slow you're going to crawl it on the bottom. I mean, just barely turn that reel. And that big tail, that big wedge tail, that sits there and does that on the bottom. And when you get bit with this thing, you're going to know it. It's going to be a big fish, big bait, and it ain't always a big bite. It can be a little tick. Most of the times when you get bit with a big bait, it's either going to be a slam or it's going to be like a little tick. It's clearly a bite. You can feel it. It's more kind of like a jig bite. You just tick, tick, and you set the hook. Now, another bait that I love to use during the wintertime, it's the most stupidest bait known to man, and everybody knows what it is. Ned rig. TRD Z-Man. Aztec. It's so stupid on how this bait works so well. You literally cast it and let it sit on the bottom, and it stands up right there on the jig head. That's all it does. And some reason, it absolutely slaughters the fish. And I'd say if you're going to do numbers instead of quality, this is the bait that I would use, because this thing absolutely just slaughters the fish. You just leave it out there and set it and just work it like a drop shot or the jig. Just lift it up, move it maybe 5 inches with your rod tip, and just leave it set there. And you want to watch your line too, because they could pick it up and just carry it off. That's where you guys miss a lot of them at on the wintertime baits, because you got to watch your line more than you feel the bait. Because sometimes you can watch the line move before you even feel the bite, and you're screwed. So, well, guys, thanks for watching. It's another episode of JonesBoy's Fishing. God bless, and I hope you stick a big one out there.